Yeah, and welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute, joined today by Algared and the Astropub. How are you gents doing today?
Less tired than you, as I've been saying this entire time.
Got the bags on the ice today. I think I've
but
hit peak
also
tide.
it's fantastic. It's the best day of the sale.
Yeah, it's
So.
Drake. I enjoy all the days, to be honest, except tomorrow. But
I love Drake. I have never been ashamed of proclaiming my love of Drake Interplanetary, and I will continue to be a Drake fanboy, which is so brave and bold these days. I know, because nobody likes Drake.
Yeah, nobody at all.
I've never liked Drake really as a ship manufacturer. To me, they've just been run-of-the-mill group, and that is an appeal of them. They're cheap, they're nasty. They do have that utilitarian feel of just being slapped together, almost jalopy style.
Almost expendable.
Yeah,
and they're expendable, and that is the allure of them. That is why they're seen as the pirate ships. That is why they're seen as the pirate company and all the rest of it. In part, but they're also a company that their ships have traditionally been, or used to be said to be unarmored, or have armor as thick as a paper bag that you could,
all right, so we've got the Warbond upgrade here. So it's $5 save 10. Yeah, or save 5. God, I'm tired. So, I don't know. I think there's definitely been a lot better ones of this in the past, considering it came out at it was 145 and went to 175. So it's not the biggest jump of this upgrade, but it is also one of the smaller ships we've got so far. A lot of them haven't been very small yet, so.
But if you're starting an upgrade path and you need a small upgrade to move your chain along, then that could be an ideal one for you.
Yeah, it's just not the best, but again, yeah, none of them have really been good this year, to be honest with you. So maybe we're finally seeing a quietening of the upgrades. We'll have to kind of assess that on the final day, obviously.
I mean, that does make sense in terms of like the direction that CIG's been going, because CIG is in a 1.0 mindset. They have to start simplifying the system.
Agreed.
And CCUs are, I love them, but they are very complicated and they add way too much complexity to the game as well. Just to buying the game, it adds too much paperwork. So,
the idea of them was originally just to make it easier for people with packs to upgrade the ships in their packs to get the ships they wanted, rather than having to melt the pack and then do stuff. Whereas everyone else with a single ship, you could just melt and buy. The upgrade packs will just help you simplify that process. So it kind of saved time for them, but it was always a stopgap, I think. It was never really the process you wanted to keep as the standard, if that makes sense. So simplifying is good.
All right, the Buccaneer, 110. I'm gonna be honest. This has always sat right next to the Cutlass Black, and I think they should have left it behind by $10 when they increased the Cutlass Black, because it obviously is not the same in value.
Nope.
So, I don't know. That's my thought. They should have left it at 100 personally. But yeah.
It's more expensive than a Gladius, and it's worse than a Gladius. It does have more firepower, which is probably the reason why it's $110, because it's got an insane amount of firepower. And technically, it's a medium ship, not a light ship, a medium interceptor. And it has gotten an incredible performance boost with master modes overall, but it's still really not a very good ship to use in sort of high performance combat situations that you're want to look for. So it's a fighter. So as we all know, sell your fighters. If you're watching Inforunners, don't use your fighters. Don't buy fighters. But it's still, even in that range, it's probably the least valuable fighter, especially since it's a Drake ship. So in game, it's almost always going to be far cheaper to purchase a Drake ship than it will be to buy it with cash.
And the other thing with it, one of the things I've found when I've used it is that I've always felt it felt fast like a fighter. Don't know whether it actually was fast, but it felt fast.
Yeah.
But it also felt very fragile. So it takes a hit and you feel the hit. So it really fits into that typical Drake meta of being overgunned very fast, but having that one downside. But I like it. But yeah.
It always felt the most like a pod racer to me of almost any ship in the game. And it still is nice to fly, but my question that this is always asked for me is, where are the other Drake fighters? So I think down the line, there's more coming. So, yeah. Right, the Caterpillar. The ship that I've held on to hoping for modularity, $330. Yeah, I guess I'm a little bit sick of waiting. But it's still very... The most unique thing about the ship right now, believe it or not, is how it flies.
Yeah. It's always going to have a space, I think. Not just because of the modularity. Modularity is always key, and it probably will improve with modularity even then. But it's such a unique size and shape that it will always have some benefit. Eventually, it will have to get its doors lowered and some of the other features that it was supposed to have when it's released, similar to the Carrack. I think when the Ironclad goes into production, which it already is, I think after the Ironclad is done, they're going to go over the Caterpillar again because it is an older design that they need to kind of change around. Like that neat but really weirdly bespoke engine bay in the back needs to get probably maneuvered around a little bit, if not changed up a little bit. And at the very least, they need to get those doors to like lower down and then act as elevators or maybe act as like ramps. But because it's so long, it allows you to park your ship in like a hangar and completely unload it without having to do funny like positioning. You don't have to like position it in a weird way like you do now for a lot of ships for the optimal like loading and unloading. You can just park it directly on the pad and just start unloading it with a crew. And it is really, really easy to load and unload. There are some small issues here and there, but it is super efficient for the size. Basically, you can unload every module at once compared to something like the Hercules, where you have to load them one at a time. Even at best, you have to load it front and back, so you only have 2 bays to do. You can just do every single door can open, and you can just pull them all out. So it makes it a better efficient, like an efficient ship for with size and what it does. And I think at its price, it's pretty reasonable for when it's going to eventually get its upgrades in terms of its internal changes and its modules.
You consider its cargo against the Galaxy's cargo variants. They are identical, and the Galaxy is what, $500 ship, or is it? Or have I got my numbers completely wrong?
You also have to buy. You also have to buy the cargo module.
The M2 has more cargo. The C2 has more cargo. The M2 has a little bit less. I think that's what it was, but yeah, I have to double check. Excuse me, I'm tired.
The only downside of it is it can't take like the larger 1632 SCU crates. It can take like 8.
It can take to 24 is the biggest it can take.
24.
Yeah. It can't take 32. So you're close. Yeah.
But the advantage of it is because it's got those separate modules. Each module could be down the track set to different environmental conditions, which means you could have different cargo that has different criteria for being used and be able to take them. So that was always one of the advantages of the Drake Caterpillar, even in its original design brief, that each of those compartments is supposed to have its own battery and life support and that aspect. The modularity, well, that was just the creme de la creme of the Caterpillar. We know it's still coming, it's just when. And we know that the problem with modularity is the second you put modules in Europe, while we might not see it as a separate ship, in design, every module makes the mothership kind of a separate ship when you apply them. So it becomes a complex ship.
Yep. All right, the Corsair. I'll let you take this one, Paul, since...
It's my favorite ship. We need to get confirmation.
It's your second favorite ship. Your favorite ship is the Redeemer. Come on, let's be serious. All right.
Shut up. So the Corsair is, even with its nerf, is still one of the best ships out there. I'm a little mad about it because of its current the like having like the back, basically the back turret is useless, because if you're gonna have this fully crewed, you're gonna want the co-pilot to be crewing the big guns on the front. John Crew did confirm that the reason why they nerfed it was because it was too good. It was absolutely overpowered, and it was overperforming what they wanted to do. So they wanted to tune it down, but they did say they're going to return to it in the future. My guess is once they get the engineering in and more of those sorts of tunes in there that can actually look at how ships are performing and improve that. But I still think the Corsair will always have a space because its price is so cheap. Like for what it does and for its accommodations, because it has a fully kitted out EVA room with suit lockers and storage for stuff, as well as easy to access like ship components within its kind of central room with an engineering bay. It has like fully supported beds. It's got a storage locker for food. It has, a food manufacturing or a food fab in it. It has like everything about this ship is designed for, hey, you want to just go do gameplay and not mess around. Like you spend about an hour getting everything you need to get set up, and then you're just gone for like a week on a gameplay and you're good. Like that's the appeal of this. And if for the price, I think it's cheaper than the Connie still. Several of the Connies.
It is it's the Andromeda is 240, this is 250.
50.
This is equivalent to, when you look at them, you've got to base this against the Aquila, and the Aquila is more expensive than this. Although the Aquila does get the Ursa and a P52. So
yeah, but at the same time, like the you can still put an Ursa in this thing if you need to, and on top of that, it's gonna sound so weird, but there is something about the ability to go to the roof as a perch. Even if it's just an aesthetic reason, it's such a good thing, because I think it also will allow for things like quick acquisition. So if, like you say, you're landed and you're busted and you need to get can't leave your room or your ship, or you don't want to leave your ship, but you might be able to get like a cutter to fly by and drop off something on the roof, so you can get up onto the roof and grab it and pull it back in, rather than having to like go outside in EVA in dangerous conditions or whatever, or even just like a rescue from the ship. It's such a unique vessel. I love it because of all of its combined features make it one of the best multi-crew ships in the game. It may not be the meta multi-crew ship, but no ship is going to ever be the meta forever. So
that roof access, I've always thought that's so you can jump out of the ship that you've just raided, land back on the roof, and then get back in your own ship in atmosphere. That's what I've always thought was for, but maybe I'm wrong.
I could see that too. Because like as we always joke, the Corsair is an exploration vessel. It explores the inside of your cargo bay.
The interior hull of other people's ships.
Yes.
Picking up that joke that we say it's an exploration vessel for exploring other ships, I still see it as an exploration vessel, and all of those things that you talked about, all those quality of life issues you talked about for being gameplay, really tie into being an explorer. I think in many ways the living conditions and the quality of life features on this ship are actually better than what the RSI Aquila has, and yet that's supposedly the better explorer. And so there are some areas where I think this is better than a Connie, but in other areas I think it's a yin and yang. Take your poison.
It's a planetary explorer. You can tell because of the very basic, very big wings that'll allow it to fly much better. Well, all the RSI ships, for example, all the Connies will they all have VTOL, where this literally gets it just by simple wings and ergonomic flight. So yes, it's simple but effective, but obviously you're paying for that with a bigger silhouette or signature.
But it's also lower to the ground, which is kind of weird. But by it being lower to the ground, it allows it to be a little bit more stable when it lands. So,
yep. All right, the oldie but a goodie, the Cutlass Black. We can probably put all three of these together, I assume. But
to a degree.
To a degree, I still think the Cutlass Black though is where it's at, even after all these years.
Best ship in the game.
Being it really is. It hasn't really changed. There are obviously other offshoots of this now, so you can go a little bit to the one way or the other, like the C1 and the Zeus, not so much, and the Freelancer's always lagged behind, hasn't it? So
yeah. I think the Freelancer once the Freelancer's updated, it'll beat the Cutlass.
Yeah.
But right now, the Cutlass it's the best single person operated vehicle that has optional multi-crew that improves it actually legitimately improves its performance with multiple people in it, but it doesn't need those.
Just to reiterate from when we did the Buccaneer, same price. So that's why we
Yeah.
kind of say the Buccaneer's not as good. So yeah.
The Buccaneer has slightly more firepower. That's pretty much it. But like, it doesn't have the range of the Cutlass. It doesn't have the flexibility of the Cutlass because that cargo bay.
Drop
I'm also
seats as
really
well. The
drop
6
seats. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm super biased with this because I'm finishing up my complete history of Drake Interplanetary, and it's really hard to not look at the Drake Cutlass and then look at the rest of the Drake brand and be like, yeah, everything is in that Drake makes is a Cutlass, and that's because the Cutlass is just good.
So good.
It's just so good.
I find it frustrating in a sense looking at the Buccaneer versus the Cutlass, because we know the Buccaneer was created. Well, we know, and an audience may not, but the Buccaneer was created because at one point the Cutlass was flying and feeling like a fat, wallowing merchantman. It wasn't the agile fighter that had been promised that could take cargo and be multi-crew. And so CIG split them off and created the Buccaneer to be that fast, give you that choice of being that fast, agile fighter, and then kept the Cutlass as being the kind of merchant ship. But then when the Cutlass got reworked, I think it actually came back more to that original concept of being faster and better and just filling that role. So I feel like the Buccaneer got left behind, in a sense. And the Cutlass is just, it is a great ship.
I will say the blue. We were talking about blue. The blue is going to shine when bounty hunting comes in because its QED is super important. It's one of the few ships that has a QED, but it also still has cargo and it has like 12 cells. It has internal storage for weapon racks because it's got the standard Cutlass stuff. So like a 2 or 3 man team of Cutlass of a Cutlass operator in a blue will absolutely excel in the bounty hunting gameplay in the future. It will do so much better. I think the only thing that will compete with it is the Marky Mark.
Yeah,
but the Marky Mark is bigger. It's more expensive to operate. It's going to be less efficient, and so.
Already got a $15 difference and it's not even out. So yeah, the Marky Mark is going to jump to probably 210 or something in that area. I think this will get a lot more features back because obviously if those pods are able to be taken out, hopefully you regain a lot of that as cargo too, so it can go somewhere between the black and the blue, and I think then the blue, as you said, will shine.
But even if those cargo the prisoner pods are removable and you could put them on a black, the fact that this has a QED, which the black or other ships don't have, still puts it that mile above most other ships in that category.
Just to reiterate what I just said, because you kind of put words in my mouth there a little bit. I mean, just removing them from this so it can become more generalistic. You implied that I meant take them from this.
No, I didn't mean that. No, I didn't mean that at all. I didn't imply that.
Yeah,
I didn't even imply that.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to remove the pod spindles, but you will be able to remove the individual pods. Because they're just, you can think of them as racks. Those spindles
they're not going to be
pod racks.
They're not going to be vertical anymore, most likely. If you look at the new pods in the Marky Mark, they're essentially stacked horizontally now. So they've really changed how the pods work. So I'm assuming they're just going to become generalized cargo based on what I've seen in the Marky Mark concept. They did have a special area for them in the Marky Mark, so maybe it gets specialist areas and it doesn't get all the cargo. But if they just become normal cargo, this essentially becomes a lot like a Cutlass Black with extra armor and extra bells and whistles, and that's where I think it'll shine, because then you can go between these two and it's a bit more universal.
We'll see, because there's definitely going to be a change in, because we know they have the 6 pods in the Avenger Stalker, but this Avenger Stalker, those pods are going to be swapped out for the slimmer ones. But I don't think you could fit 6 pods horizontally in the Stalker. They have to be, or like flat on their butt. They have to be against the wall in order to function. So
didn't they also at one point talk about the Hawk having its pod moved to be more vertical?
I think you can have them in the back of the Avenger, by the way, because they stack 3 high. So if you have 2 stacks of 3, that's 6, which is exactly the same.
I think that, and this is just one of those things we have to wait and see, but I think that these pods will probably require some power resource. And so the advantage of having these dedicated bounty hunting ships is that, like, say that Drake blue vertical stack kind of hangars will probably be connected to the ship's power plant. So like when you plug it in, you plug them into there and they're connected to the power plant, so you don't have to worry about them running out of juice. Whereas if you just have them separate, then they're not connected to the power grid. So if they run out of power, or say you get an EMP or something like that, then they become deactivated and the prisoners can get out.
Well, again, they could have different pods, ones that are connected to the ship, ones that have they're a bit bigger, but they have power as well. So again, we'll have to wait and see, because I think it might go both ways in that regard. But yeah, you are on point there. I'll give you that. Right, the Cutlass Red. Who wants to talk about this one?
It's lost its value compared to a lot of other ships, but its value comes in. It's a Cutlass. It has cargo. It has two medical beds. It has 4 beds for inside of it, which
sleeping.
We don't know for sleeping.
2 for sleeping and 2 for medical.
Yeah, but it also has 2 inside the medical bay for sleeping, and it also has 2 for the pilot and the co-pilot.
Oh, so you are right. It's 4. It's 4 and then 2 for medical.
4 crew beds and 2 medical beds.
Yeah, you're right.
But as medical gets more complicated, I think the big advantage of the Red is that it's going to be able to carry its own resources. So unlike, say, the Pisces or the Nursa, which don't have a ton of cargo space, if any, they'll have to be loaded up and then constantly refueled or like stocked. Whereas the Red has its own cargo bay, so it can carry its own resources to restock as it needs to. So it makes it a lot more longer ranged in terms of operations. And even the Apollo, I don't think has much of a cargo space in it itself. So it, like, the Red is going to have that sort of niche frontier ambulance style gameplay that most people are going to want to do for that introduction to medical, medical professions, being able to find NPCs and rescue them, or players and rescue them, and that kind of thing. So,
right, Algared, I left your favorite one to last.
I hate this shit. It is an absolute piece of rubbish. It is. Whereas the Cutlass is the most un-Drake ship, this is the most Drake ship. It is. Drake are already overgunned and all the rest of it. What do? You add more gun to this, rip out the cargo and put seats in. So you now need more power for the life support. It's got more guns, so you need more power for the guns. It's an absolute abomination. And it's 235, which is an absolute steal. Absolute rubbish. I hate it. Now, Paul's going to be the voice of reason here and talk its good point, because I can't see it.
I am going to defend it. And the reason why I'm going to defend it is because CIG has, I believe, learned from their mistake. Because I agree, the steel is an absolute ripoff. Like, at that price, 235, no. just no. Unless all of the drop ships become incredibly expensive. This had the drop ship tax when it first came in. It has 18 seats, which at the time of its release was like half the server. So it was like, why would you have this? And I think what CIG has done is, as they have advanced technology, the steel has become better simply because they've upgraded the armor. It's one of the toughest ships that exists today. It's justified its slow speed because it's dang near impossible to kill. And it has a lot of firepower attached to it. I do believe that this ship was not built with strictly players in mind. I think this ship was built as an NPC device for Theaters of War, or for Theaters of War as a support ship for Theaters of War.
Agreed.
That was its original concept. And then they were like, well, Theaters of War is being internally delayed and we haven't gotten all these other systems done yet, but it's done. Let's release it. Because it was released only a couple of months after the release of the Corsair. So it's like, why? It's clear that they went into the steel because they were working on the Corsair and they wanted to use everything they learned on the Corsair to build the steel. And then it was also justified around jump down and kind of stuff. So I think it still has its place, but it's one of those where, unlike the other Cutlasses, which you could argue to buy right now, which would be much better in terms of value, because you can get them right now and they're pretty good. They're pretty decently priced compared to other ships of that same quality. There's no reason to buy the steel. Buy it in game. Even as, like, I mean, I'm sure it will change a little bit, but even as of recently, it is cheaper than the black in game.
Yeah.
It's just it's hard to justify a ship that is a cut down black that has almost none of the utility, but just has more guns,
and being
more expensive.
Yeah.
I disagree at all on that one.
I know. I find that the biggest frustration with Steel. But as you were saying, it came out with just after Theatre of the War, and I can remember we were speculating that this was kind of the bad guy spawn ship, whereas the Ursa had been the good guy spawn ship. But yeah.
Right, the Cutter series, the best Drake ship
of the game.
Yeah.
The most undraked Drake ship.
Yep. John Crew's favorite Drake ship, I think he said. So
he said, yeah.
I still think the base variant's where it's at. The Scout will, Scout will come in time, and the Rambler. How do I put this? This is an Origin ship masquerading as a Drake. It's a touring where, this is an Explorer. This is a touring, and this is the one I have trouble with. The others are fine. I think in time, though, like when you start to go to places like Pyro and stuff, this will probably come out, having more long distance range. But you give up a fair bit to get that extra range.
Yeah, it's the Rambler is. It's in the same sort of vein as the Intrepid, so it's clear that CIG thinks there's some sort of gameplay advantage with having a lot of interior living space. So that seems to be what they're designing towards, anyways.
About $50. Looking for a starter shippy type thing, and you want the different flavors. They're nicely priced, but I do think the base cutter is the best starter ship in game at present. It gives you all the gameplay features. It gives you the ability to walk around your ship, which is it blew my mind. We had this game where you could actually walk around your ship, and the two starter ships, the two base packet starter ships, you couldn't really do that. And it was like, man, that's one of the whole holes in one. It's one of the big selling points you've got for this game that makes it so different from any other game. And the two starter ships, you couldn't do that. It's like, whereas this one you can.
You can, but not to the extent you can in this. The Aurora is like, oh look, I have 4 doors to access, and that's all.
2 doors.
I've got a chair, I've got 2 doors, and I've got a bed. So you essentially kind of swing a cat in it. But I get what you mean. Yeah. Right, I think we've done a lap. No, we've got
we got a couple more.
Dragonfly. Still the best bike in the game, by my opinion. First one ever introduced, and I don't know what it is with vehicles. They went the opposite way with the vehicles. They released all the good ones first, but still the one to beat in my book. But your guys' thoughts?
Still the one to beat.
Yeah, Algared. Yeah. Don't buy vehicles. I think would be the only other thing I'd add. Not worth the value. Herald, the profession starter cheapest. Like $5. So,
It's got a Colt. It definitely has a Colt. I know people who love this ship because of it's an engine with tiny wings. So
it represents us. It has pretty much since the beginning. So spinning
it's
down
literally
every episode. Yeah,
literally that spin. So
a little spinning thing.
But
I think it's that's the one thing you'll hear more often than anything else is people go, when is Inforunner coming out? And I think it's because of the Herald. Like as much as people love the Mercury, I think this is the starter, like the thing everyone wants. So
well, it just shows you how much cargo it can carry. It's a virtual cargo in a way. It's just it's going to be interesting when it comes in, a different type of gameplay. Obviously, it needs hacking and a few other things, but be really interesting. Right, the Ironclad and the Ironclad Assault, 450, 535. So that's just me. That had an increase. I might have to check.
I don't think so.
My brain is no worky right now because I'm tired. But
I can't recall.
I'm looking up right now. Ironclad Assault was War Bond. Yeah, it has. It's a $10 increase. It was $525. Now it's $535. But I think that's because it actually increased $10 from its original price because while it was being sold. Because
that's right, it did, didn't it? Yeah.
Because people are like, it's like a $5. It was like a $5 increase from a Warbond CCU. It was a $5 Warbond CCU to from an M2 to to a ironclad assault, and everyone's like, why would you take the M2 over the assault? It's basically better than the M2 in every way, shape, and form. So they were like, oh right, we should probably increase the price. So
I still think the normal ironclad's kind of where it's at. I think
I disagree.
I know you disagree. That's all right. But I think this one becomes too combat-like. I know it's got the manufacturing model on there, but we just don't know enough about how manufacturing works. I don't think you're going to be building houses out of this thing anytime soon. So the way they also made it so you can't take you do have the large vehicles, right? So this, to me, this separates the two versions, where this one essentially becomes a liberated that does only vehicles. It doesn't do really ships. This is more the cargo variant, and this is, to me, this is the more pirate one. This is like what John Cruz said to me and you, Algared, where he said they're always trying to do military contracts, and they keep failing.
And they fail.
So that's the military one, where the other one's the civilian one.
It's almost as if this is the one they pitched first. It got knocked, and then they went, "Oh well, let's rejig it." But yeah, it does have that feel. One of the things that I was just thinking of is that it's got manufacturing in the Ironclad Assault. The Galaxy has a module that was for manufacturing, and you guys were talking the other day about it won't do buildings. It's the ship and vehicle manufacturing. This is the same. So this, in some ways, is the Ironclad is effectively, I'm starting to think,
a vehicle
version of. Well, I think it's the Drake version of the Galaxy in a weird kind of.
No, I agree.
Way.
I will say the one thing that is specifically mentioned, because I have been staring at these ships for a very long time doing this research, is it specifically is mentioned that the manufacturing is a component manufacturing. So it's probably probably a smaller or like a medium fab rather than like a big fab. So you're not going to be building full vehicles out of it. You'll be building like replacement parts out of it. But still, I think the value of the assault, the value of the regular ironclad is just insane amount of internal cargo. I don't think there's any ship that has that amount of internal cargo outside of a capital ship. 1,500 SCU of cargo is nuts. That's like whole series levels.
It's almost cracking. I think it's depending on the variant, it's 250 to 500. I have to go double check the numbers, but yeah, it's in that ballpark. You still got the whole series. I do want to put out there that you got the whole series at 500 that does a lot more. But
it has more, but it's also external cargo, and so it's going to be more prone to being knocked off and get taking damage. So and it also has tractor beams built into the base. It also has a vehicle garage, so that if you want to store your ATLSs or your mules or anything else like that you need to maneuver things around, is going to be easily accessible. So you actually have space to put stuff. Both of these ships have internal guns. They both have a sentry gun inside for defending against borders. For its price, it's a flying, cargo ship. It's a flying barge, but. And I think the place for the assault is actually still in both military and base building, because while you can't necessarily build entire homes out of that fab, it will build replacement parts, and you can still carry the base building vehicles. Probably the largest base building vehicles can still fit inside of it. So it brings its own defenses with its base building. Plus the ship itself is viable. It has component fabricators. So if you have any kind of mobile refinery or miners, which it could also bring alongside of itself inside of it with like vehicles. It allows it to basically be a sort of stripped down version of the Pioneer. Like it's not going to be perfect, but if it can fit in its cargo bay, it can carry it, and that's insane. So,
and the other thing to consider is like just in terms of, because the manufacturing component is a component manufacturing plant. As I think about the ships, and as players are moving up in tier, it's going to be the components we can tier up, I think, first and get up to those higher grades. And so it's the type of ship where you can actually be building those higher grade tier things to put in your other ships and just increase their performance. So yeah, it's got great potential.
I think the with the normal ironclad, much like what you guys were talking about with the assault, I think the biggest ship that's probably threatening this one is the C2. It's $50 more than the C2, but it's almost, and I say almost, so it's almost 700 cut SCU, and it's over 1,500 in the ironclad. So you're easily getting more than double for those $50. 1 to 6 on the ironclad or 1 to 2 on the Hercules. So you've obviously got a much smaller crew requirement on the C2, but it's also got tractor beams, and that is not to be underrated. I think tractor beams will really on ships will really boon when it comes to space, and I think that's where this is always, I always called it the drop bucket, like just for the ability to, what's that game, Hardship Shipbreakers, where you dumped everything on the thing. It's going to be like that, where you're just going to be able, you're just going to be able to throw things onto the barge type of thing, and if they get a little damage, you can repair them later, but it's just going to allow pirates to essentially dump and go.
Oh, even just swallow and go, because it's that hatch that opens at the top. It for me, when I first saw it, it was Moonraker vibes. The open up, swallow the ship. Then you've got your internal turret, security turret, that actually can just keep peppering or keep the crew contained or whatever if they're not already dead. It's just that it is in many ways a perfect pirate ship.
So you're kind of giving up the versatility on the assault, but I think that's why I think the ironclad will be where it's at, because again, it's more of a generalist. But don't get me wrong, the assault definitely has its place, and like I said before, until we understand more about how the different levels of manufacturing and how that's all going to come out, it definitely has the potential to be where it's at with the assault. I won't underestimate that, but there's too many question marks right now, and until we have those answers, I don't want to make a call so much, but like I can see what this does. I just want to be able to see what the assault does before I can say, yes, that's the better version. Do what I did, buy a CCU for each and sit on it. Like that's because I have questions I don't know. I'm more likely going to get one. I'm not going to get both, but I'll probably get one. I'm honestly leaning towards the ironclad because I don't need a vehicle transporter. Someone else that I know will do that. Algared's probably got every single one of them, so I'll just borrow his.
I actually don't have these yet because they came out this year.
All right.
And Citizen wrote my bank.
I have the
assault.
I have the assault. So I don't have the assault, but I have the CCU as well. So that's the other advantage, is that the assault is like pretty, like I've got an M2 to an ironclad assault, and I need to hopefully if we can swing it, X and I can sit down and do a video of to explaining CCUs where we can do my CCU from a from whatever to like what the path I should take from from the starter all the way up to the assault.
Maybe we can do that on, because you know how the finale day goes for 3 days. Maybe we can do it one of the last 2 days of that. We'll sit down and do that as a bonus. You let me know which day, and we'll do that. So then everyone else can follow along. All right.
The one thing I would say with those is don't fork out $450 or $535 for them.
Yeah,
they are so
and lock in the price, and then use upgrades to bring the price down.
They're so like it's so they have a lot of potential, but like a lot of ships, it's a risk to buy a ship on its potential alone, because CIG has and will just go, it's changing it now. And
I'm looking at you, Polaris, not Polaris.
Galaxy is what. Oh, Phoenix.
Phoenix.
Algared, don't worry, I went to bat for you on RSI day.
Yeah, I heard that.
Back me on that. I went to bat for you. Yeah. Like I heard you yelling at me in the background, even though you weren't here. Like I heard it, so it's all good. Yeah. Right, the Kraken. Me and Grim from STAR-Jump both love this thing. I am salvating the bit. I think you'd agree with me. Ben Curtis was been very keen on this when we were there, Algared. Correct me if you think I'm wrong, but yeah.
I'm just nodding.
Yeah.
That's the impression I get. They seem to love the Kraken. And look, it's a flat top. What's not to love about a flat top?
Probably the most versatile of the capital ships we currently have, as in a generalist. So again, that does kind of fit the Drake aesthetic a little bit. Jack of all trades, master of none, but that's why I like it, because it's just a Swiss Army knife. You put a ship on there and it extends and increases what that ship does, and that's a boon to all the smaller ships below. So yeah,
and almost certainly it's going to get a fabrication module of some kind.
Oh,
Because
yeah,
it's mentioned.
they
They've
did.
mentioned
They
they
did.
mentioned in its own internals that it has the ability to repair and replace ship parts in the hangars. So it's gonna get a fab of some kind.
You'll even remember the graphics they had for the internals, and you had the crane literally moving wings and parts of a Buccaneer to
Yeah.
as
So
it's repairing them. So it's going to have that. But the other thing is, like,
didn't they say something about a medical bay as well?
They said a
think
possible medical bay.
I think they talked about a possible medical bay.
Because there's enough space to put one. Yeah, I'd have to.
Oh yeah.
The other thing is, like, even if Drake ships stick to their low armor for their class, this is still going to have capital armor, just not as good as, say, an Idris or other stuff, which means small ships are still going to have a hard time.
Yeah.
And on top, and it brings its own harassment squad. Like if your small ship wants to get into it, you're going to have to get through 3 small vehicles and possibly 2 medium, if not a large. Because if it fits its rule still applies, you could sit a Corsair on that thing, or maybe not a Hammerhead, but like heaven forbid, a Redeemer on the top or something like that, which would become a massive harassment for any ships trying to attack it. So it's a very versatile ship.
I'm just going to correct you, Paul. You said 3. It's actually 4, but it was 2 medium.
Sorry,
I just don't like disinformation. Sorry. I have to correct you.
It's 4 small.
Okay,
small falls with 2 medium.
Well, you can see the pads.
Yeah.
And I know you know how to count because you're a teacher. So yeah, go.
I didn't see that last one in the back. That one, that last one in the back looks a little small, and I didn't know if it was part of the fuselage.
To save Paul from showing his true favorite, true love of a Redeemer, he can take 4 Buccaneers and 2 Cutlass Blacks.
Yes.
On
or
the
Cutlass
pads.
Blues.
Yeah. And it's also got that internal bay, which could take 2 Buccaneers or anything.
It's like a size. I think it's supposed to be like a size 2. Bay, so they're like a size 2 or size like a smaller medium. It's a small hangar.
Yeah,
they're small hangars.
It's kind of got 2 pads, but it can be kind of used as a bigger pad. It's a weird setup, I think, but it's unique. It's good.
So I haven't decided yet, but I also do have an upgrade kit to the privateer as well. I just don't know if I'm going to apply it or not, because again, I've also got a Bane Merchantman. So do I need the 2 extra shops? So again, applying it basically does turn it into a privateer, but it also gives me the ability to kind of have that upgrade for free. I won't have to rep grind it, and I'll be able to turn it back into a Kraken. So yeah, there's just some interesting things there for me to choose.
My question is, does the privateer still have the manufacturing ability? So
yeah, what gets sacrificed in the privateer versus the regular one is its cargo space. One of the cargo bays, because it's got 2, one of the cargo bays is converted into a bazaar. So as a result, it loses not an insignificant amount, but like it still has like 700 SCU of cargo inside of it. It
also changes the Dragonfly Bay into 2 kind of private rooms. I don't want us to call that like specialty shops or whatever that are higher security or whatever. I don't know. I'm just going to float this out there. Algared, knowing what you and I know about how the Idris K and the Idris P and the M are all kind of are you possibly, and I don't even want to theorize what they are, but are you possibly thinking somewhere along the line we might get another version of this thing?
I'm not sure. Like, I know the K came out as the kind of answer to the Kraken with the upgrading the P. I've always thought that the privateer certainly filled the role of a mobile space station. So it's a ship that you have floating above your main base before you build, as a stepping stone to building that star base above your planet, or the planet that you've got your base. That's what I've always thought. We always talked about parking a privateer above a planet without a space station, and using it in that same role. You've got your landing pads, you've got your stores, you've got your materials can come in and then be transported down. It's exactly the same role that your permanent space station does. The advantage of this is it moves.
I don't know what they'd do it as either, though, because obviously, if you go into repair too hard, it becomes more like manufacturing and it goes into the Ironclad Assault, but ships based. And I feel that that's probably also starting to encroach on the base building of the Pioneer. So it could be interesting though, because of those two big crew areas where it like the Assault, but it's for ships. That could be the other place they take it. That's just the one I thought of, but I could be wrong.
My argument is it's going to be a Pioneer. If you do a variant, it'll be a Pioneer competitor.
So look,
because but specifically in terms of like space station core building, the dock yard at the start of it.
I can see that
because it's already a flying space station as it stands. So having it have like one of the cargo manufacturing one of the cargo spaces being just turned into a cargo, like an extra large fabricator, like the one that is on the Pioneer, which is what you need to do in order to build the station
it also gives you a little base to kind of land on near building the space station as well. You can also drop a bit, smaller ships can drop their cargo off and then it's transferred over. It gives a boon to building the space station at the very least, even in its current configuration.
But I do think that would be its own version. It would be a bespoke version, and I still think it would be somewhere between the privateer and the regular. It would still be like stupid expensive compared to
again, if this is 2000 and this is 1600, 1750 to 1850, something like that would be exactly that. I can see that.
Could you see that the variant you were talking about, Paul, not necessarily being the one that builds that cargo thing that builds the space station, but actually being the thing that actually builds the space station? You put it on the station, the stuff comes, you've got use the pad to bring the cargo, a bit like using that docking port, and you literally build the space station straight from this. So you skip a step. Where if the Pioneer builds that platform for building and then does it.
I still think that in terms of design, that would be too complicated. I think they're going to stick with that, with what they have there. But I do think that it will have the advantage if it does build that space station sort of docking yard, that its advantage of being able to do that means that it has, unlike the Pioneer, which is big but doesn't have nearly the cargo capacity of this thing. Plus, it also has the ability to send off and receive multiple medium and small ships. So it has its defensive capabilities as well as having the ability to. I can also see things like they adding a refinery to it. So like its cargo space is probably much smaller, but it has a refinery, it has a fabrication, it loses some of its crew quarters, that kind of thing, to make it good. There's a lot of ways they could go with it, but I think that's the direction they would go with it, because they seem to be so heavy on base building and space station building that this is perfectly designed for that sort of.
I could see this being the thing that builds the space station itself. It's got the cargo areas for cargo to be brought in to do it. It's got you'd have the manufacturing part able to, it's on station, and then once the station's built, it flies away and goes elsewhere. But while it's building it, it'd have to stay on point. It wouldn't, that would be the sacrifice you'd make. But it's just enough rope to hang ourselves, or just enough rope to hang me.
I'm going to divert now because I've just had something. I went back to look and refresh the page, and look what I found. They've brought out a new Intrepid version called the Nocturne. And it appears to be a paint, and if you pick up the Intrepid, you get this for free. And it seems to be the black-blue variant, almost like the A2, but blue instead of red. I think that's kind of interesting. Is that signifying to you guys that it's not selling very well?
We know it's not selling well.
That's what that's telling me, but
we know that it's not selling well because like we just got to look at it compared to even the Crusader Day on last year, and it was still underperforming. So I
think the fact that the starter pack for the Intrepid came with 20,000 UEC said that even CIG knew that this wouldn't sell well, because they tried to sweeten the pot, and if they're adding this skin to it, they're trying to sweeten the pot even more. So
it's still not worth it, but because it's only a starter package that you get with it, not you don't get the if you buy the ship, you don't get the base, this additional ship, right?
It comes with all. I'll read the fine print again. Thought it said, for the duration of this promotion, the Nocturne paint is included in all Intrepid ship packages. Existing Intrepid owners will receive the paint in the coming days.
Ship pledges. You said packages. Pledges.
Yeah.
So that means
all
it does
ship
come with
pledges.
all ships.
It does come with all ships. So even the one without the package. Sorry, I read that wrong. I'm tired. You can forgive me.
So it's clearly an endeavor to make this more appealing to people, I think. And
what are the skins worth? Like $5 at most. Let's just confirm that. So we can kind of see for ourselves. Trying to remember what I think they're only like $3 or something. I could be wrong, but let's just double check rather than just guessing. Give me a moment. Intrepid. So $3 for the
Oblivion,
which is easily the nicest one, and the concierge one, $3. Wavefront is $5.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so, you can't get it unless you can't get the Intrepid unless you already are concierge. That's the thing. So
yeah. So this is the one they think is best. It's like a gray, actually. I've seen it in game. I did. So one of the things I do is I buy one of every skin and I go in and look at them for myself, because this image does not do enough to show you how they look. That's really relevant with the Polaris paints too. They don't show how good they are at all. Or how bad they are for that matter. But yeah, $5 for that one. I think I'll pass on that one. But yeah. Yeah, $3 to sweeten the pot. No, not going to really do much to sway me, I'm afraid.
Okay, at least if you add it to a starter pack, where you've got the game, you've got 20,000 UEC, which is whenever you add 20,000, that's a lot.
Well, it's already
usually
they've already got a pack that's got this one in it too at Algared, so you're essentially getting the default, the Intrepid, and the Nocturne. So this is we haven't seen something like this before, where they've added things while it's going on. I'm just going to say it. That sounds like desperation. That's what it feels like.
Yeah. No, just accept that it's not a ship that everyone likes. Sometimes you hit it out the park, and sometimes you don't. Yeah. And you've got to have. It's something Space Tomato always says. You got to have things in the game that people hate. And there'll be things in the game that others love. Just accept it. And
I do think that I will say that no matter what CIG does, I don't think they're going to save this sale. I don't think they're going to be able to make this sale better than last year.
Yeah.
The thing is 4.0. That's the only thing. I think that's the thing that this year has proven time and again is that CIG makes more money when they release patches, and releasing 1.5 patches a year is not acceptable if you want to make money. So CIG needs to start focusing on releasing patches, not just big, expensive, balls to the wall releases. Hopefully 4.0 is the last big, expensive balls to the wall release to 1.0, but we'll see. Ships don't make the money anymore.
Back to your regularly scheduled Drake program. The Mule. We've only got 2 left, gentlemen. Well, this is hard to swallow now, knowing the SM is a thing, CSV SM. So I think I'm just gonna call it SM and FM because it's word soup otherwise. So I hope you understand me when I say SM. So essentially they're the same price and everything. So it's like I just don't get why you'd get this now, but
I don't either. And apparently John Crew did give an update in his last video that the reason why it doesn't work is because it requires a new technologies new tech for it's the same tech that's going to work with the removing the saddlebags on the mining vessels, so being able to attach and detach things.
Same as the Sulian then probably as well. Yeah.
And I also assume it's the same tech that's going to go in the way of the bounty hunting, because those pods need to be attached to the system and reattached.
It would probably allow other things too, like they could have vehicles attached to the outside of say they wanted to do say there was a variant of this that held Titan suits as an example.
Yeah.
It allows them to hold things in place but not touch them, type of thing. So that tech is actually quite beneficial for other things down the line.
And we're seeing other elements where a tech has been developed, not particularly for this, but tech's been developed that's actually had ramifications for other things. So docking ports on stations actually meant, we can actually fix the docking port for the P-52. The extending docking port collar for ships to dock, that solved a problem for the whole series. So time and time again, we see these where they develop something and it solves other problems down the track. And so...
Yeah, so vehicles are already in a bad place. Another vehicle, skip. Right, the Vulture, starting profession for salvage. Do you want to take this one, Paul? Last one, by the way.
Little lore tangent because this is the last one. This is the new direction of Drake. Now, it was being built before the swap over of Jan Dredge, who was the original CEO who founded Drake. It was built during her era, but when Andon Arden took over after the whole controversy of a investigative reporter managing to get on audio, Jan Dredge admitting that they don't give a crap about selling to criminals because at least they have money. Which got her to step down as CEO. When Ed Arden came on, he basically took a look at the Vulture and said, that is the future of Drake. And you can see that with pretty much all of the Drake ships since the Vulture has been released in Star Citizen have all been more focused on civilian manufacturing and also in the design. Like this shares a lot more design characteristics with the Cutter than the Cutter shares with the Cutlass. So like most of the ships that were released after during this time period have been more kind of focused around the Vulture, which is clearly CIG often puts in lore the direction that they go with internally, like things that are going internally. So it's clear that CIG saw the Vulture, saw the success of the Vulture and said more like this. And even aesthetically, they're like more like this. We're going to focus on the Vulture being the base of it, not the Cutlass. So it is still a very good ship. It's the best profession starter out there, just hands down. Because as they've tuned the mining, the Prospector is not quite as efficient as it used to be, and it can cause some consternation. But the Vulture still, and I think it might change a little bit, but it is still the best the only one person, but the best sort of one-person ship that is designed to be the start of a new profession. So
and the quality of life improvements are made to the cargo capacity it can take really did just make that push it up above where it sit. And it was already a good ship, but that just made it. And the other thing that I like about this is if you're out working with your friends on a reclaimer, the reclaimer's doing stuff, but you can still be doing with this, still picking up the bits and pieces, still going off scouting the next big site, and actually starting the process. So it actually works well. It's one of those few starter ships that works well with the bigger ship of its class. And so it's one of those small ships that you can't go wrong if you own it.
Some more features for it to come online too, like the blasting charges and stuff like that. So I think every ship in the game will be a little bit like this, where there's just more and more features coming online as the gameplay gets developed more and more. But yeah, as you guys said, I don't disagree with anything you guys said. 175, I think it shows its price. I had to say the Prospector, it was lower than the Prospector in price type of thing. Prospector only went up $5 on release. This kind of jumped by 30, so it kind of shows you what CIG think of it. I'm probably wrong there what I said with the Prospector price, but yeah, you'll have to forgive me. I'm exceptionally tired today. Right. There's our loop. So anything you guys would like to hear from people below in the comments?
I will start off by saying, what do you think about the possible Kraken variant? What possible Kraken variant could you see with seeing the M, the P, and the K? What variant do you think that Drake could slot in there?
Algared?
Yep. No, I like that idea. I like the idea of Drake being a competitor to Consolidated Outland in that base building aspect, and I think the Kraken could be a really good thing to that. So what do you guys think? Are we crazy?
Okay. I'll also say, do you think the Buccaneer needs to be separated a little bit in price from the Cutlass? And then I want to hear complaints about the Cutlass Steel, because that cheers me up. I don't know why, but it does. So yeah. All right.
Why is the Steel so shitty?
Yeah. Where can people find you on the interwebs, Paul?
Twitch.tv/Astropub, YouTube.com/The Astropub Live, both of which are where you can find my my gaming content, as well as any of my live content that I do, like office hours and Captain's Table. If you want to see the pre-recorded, or like when the stuff I record from the Captain's Table, you can go to youtube.com/at the Captain's Table podcast for all of the future videos, which will be starting in just January. I've uploaded the first 2 years of Captain's Table videos on that. So, and lastly, if you would like the lore content, like that little blurb I just talked about, and want to hear more about the complete history of Drake Interplanetary, check out youtube.com/the Astrohistorian.
You've also been doing live tours on the show floor every day. Like literally after we finish recording this, you'll be going off to do Drake Day. So if people want to follow along,
I won't be doing it today because I'm doing the complete history video that's really being released later today. But I will be doing it on Friday for
Origin.
What is that day?
Origin.
And I'll be doing it on Saturday for I can't remember the Saturday
Anvil.
Anvil Saturday? I thought it was Sunday.
Oh shit! It's a ship manufacturer on Sunday.
Get on the track. There's 3 to come. Oh, Saturday, Sunday.
I'd have to hang on. I'll just go here.
I'll look real quickly. Yeah, it is Anvil.
It is Anvil.
Because it goes for 2 days. 1 day. So I'll be doing it for for Origin and Anvil. So
all right. With that, then he's been Astropub. He's been Algared.
And he's been Execute.
Dang, got it wrong. And we're out of here.
Makes my day. See you, citizens.
Yeah.